nobody thought I would turn my life around after this. In December 2020, I already planned to move to Dubai until everything went sideways. Something I didn't expect. I packed my stuff and I left to the airport. But at the airport, as soon as I arrived at customs, it all went wrong. All the alarms start ringing and I see red lights blinking everywhere. So I get pulled aside and I was told, please wait here, sir. The Federal Police of Belgium wants to speak with you. I was not alone, so I told my best friend who was with me, bro, you just go and I will update you as soon as I have more information. But unfortunately, I was never able to update him as quick as I expected. It got clear very quickly. It didn't have something to do with Belgium. I was flagged across Europe and Denmark wants to speak with me. And the moment they mentioned Denmark, I knew immediately what it was about. So now they took me into custody. I had to stay for one night in an airport prison cell. And believe me, when I tell you, there's nothing worse than a prison cell at the airport. I tried to go to sleep as quick as possible. First thing next morning, I get brought before a judge. And the first document I got to read, it stated something like, the maximum sentence of the thing you're suspected of contains 16 years imprisonment. So now, right after I spoke to this first judge, I was sent to a Belgian prison, in which I ended up sitting for 3 months. In these 3 months, me and my lawyer were trying to fight the case so that I didn't have to go to Denmark and that it would all be solved from within Belgium, close to my family. But it already quickly turned out that that was impossible. I had to go to Denmark, since my case was there and not in Belgium. And once that got clear, I stopped fighting the process. Now, me and my lawyer, we are trying to speed up the process so I could go to Denmark as quick as possible. Because at this point, the only thing I wanted to know is, where am I standing? What can I expect? So after 3 months, in February 2021, I got transferred to Denmark. And in Denmark, I was sitting in pre-trial detention for over 5 months until I got my sentence. And then the day my case came in court showed up in July 2021. So after hearing some Danish back and forth, the first thing I did understand was that the prosecution was asking for 7 years imprisonment. Now you can imagine how I felt by then, shocked again. And then again, some Danish speaking back and forth happened between the judge, the prosecutor and my lawyer. And my lawyer managed to get it back to 3.5 years. And at this point he told me, Leroy, you better take this chance, because if we will fight more and more, there will be a big chance of the sentence being higher than this. So I said, okay, let's accept this. And now, what does my weight journey have to do with this whole story? It all started like this. Before I went to prison, I lost already 10 to 15 kilos outside. All by myself, by following some keto diet and training non-stop. I was locked in. During my time in prison in Belgium, my weight stayed right where it was. So for me, this was not a loss. It was actually a good achievement, because a lot of people will go into prison because of stress, or they lose a lot of weight, which wouldn't be bad for me, but it didn't happen, or they gain a lot of weight because they start eating and there's barely any movement. Then in Denmark, pre-trial, same. Still, no real progress, but no regression either. I just managed to hold on to everything that I built until that point. While being in prison, I just had 2 choices. Choice 1, cry about the whole situation and just see what happens next. Or finish what I started, and that was the option I picked. Then, after I got my sentence and I went to the true prison in Denmark, I went down all the way to 96 kgs. So at this point, from where I started until now, I lost 54 kgs. And that was the weight I managed to hold until I got released. But when I got released, I went up very quickly to 115 kilos again, while training. Because, as you can probably imagine, a lot of temptation and also old habits kicked in. Back to my imprisonment. I was in Belgium from the start of December 2020 until the mid of February 2021. Then from that moment until May 2022, I stayed in Denmark, and after that I got transferred to the Netherlands. Not by my own choice. It was all due to an agreement which the Netherlands and Denmark were having. Because the prisons were so full, Denmark applied for my transfer to the Netherlands, and they had no other choice than to take me, since I got a Dutch passport. And this wasn't something I would have chosen myself, because the probation rules in Denmark were way more beneficial than in the Netherlands. In Denmark, I only had to do half of my sentence, then I would get released, no questions asked. But in the Netherlands, the exact same date that this would happen to me, I got released with an ankle monitor, which meant less freedom and a lot of supervision until this was done. To get this ankle monitor, I was forced to find work immediately. If I didn't, they wouldn't give it to me. So, through a friend of my father, I found some work. He was happy to help me. He knew me from years before, and he said, okay, let's do it. So I started working in construction, but within 6 weeks of working at the same project, it turns out the permits for the project got pulled, which meant for me, this man had no more work for me, which translated into, if I didn't have work, I had to go back to prison. So now, through another friend, I met a guy who had a company in delivering packages for DHL. So we applied, started working for him, and while I was working for him, it quickly turned out that this employer didn't pass the screening. Apparently he had some criminal record himself or whatever, but it just turned out that way. So now my probation officer gave me 2 weeks only to find a new job. And that's how I got my first job in fitness. And nothing fancy, just starting with general tasks like cleaning the gym and being there for the members. From there, it went very quickly. From having these general tasks, it went into some group lessons. And since I found out that I liked those things, I started to organize my own boot camps outside. And from there, I went into a commercial gym and I started with only one friend, selling him my first PT sessions. And this was under the radar because it was actually not allowed in this gym. Then a couple of months later, 2 friends of me approached me. They told me, hey bro, are you into fitness? I said yes. Are you doing personal training now? I said yes. Oh yeah, we heard, we are opening a new gym here in the Netherlands. Would you be interested in working with us? I said, why not? Let's see it. So at this moment, Synergy came into my life. And Synergy is the place where I developed the most. At one point, I had PT sessions for 40 hours a week, which was insane for me. Unbelievable. I made a lot of transformations happen with a lot of different clients, and my results were just amazing. They were equal to my input and of course the input of those clients. So I worked there from August 2024 until March 2026, until I moved to Dubai together with my girlfriend. And now I'm here in Dubai, coaching for 30 hours a week in person and also having multiple clients online. And that's about it. That's where the story is currently at, but I'm still building. So if you don't follow me yet, make sure to follow me and leave a like, because more is coming. Let's share positivity.